Swedish guy who went all in on Bitcoin in 2000.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're trying to figure out how many Bitcoin he probably has between.
All right, folks, you guys ready to kick this off?
Yeah.
All right. You know, I leave Bali for 6 weeks and everything goes crazy. What happened? I should leave Bali more often, right? All right, we've got a great show for you tonight. This is the filter number 119. 119 episodes we've done already, or actually 118. We're gonna try and do one more tonight. And man, there's so much to talk about. Crypto world has gone nuts in my absence. And well, we're gonna try and cover it all. We're not going to cover it all. We're gonna save some stuff for next week because there's just too much to talk about. But we're gonna go over the price. The price, I think, has doubled since I left. And also the price of the altcoins has doubled, and the market cap for the entire thing has grown by tens of billions of dollars. So yeah, there's lots of money, and we're going to talk about that. We're also going to do a little Bitcoin health check. Bitcoin is still maxed to the max. We're just going to take a look at the state of it. It's still working. I still use it. It's getting expensive though, right? Anybody using Bitcoin on a regular basis? Or yeah, you can't really use it for what you used to be able to use it for.
Certainly
Right.
not to buy electricity.
Yep, electricity, Pulsa, meals at Kismet.
Yeah, but you can buy the yacht now, and it'll be.
Yes, you have to move on. Now that you're a Bitcoin millionaire, you got to buy the yachts and the villas and. Hi. All right, got a full house here tonight.
A yacht purchasing.
You're picking us up later in the limousines.
And Stephen, right?
No comment.
Viceroy accepts
Stephen, you going
Bitcoin.
out?
Yeah, we're all staying at the Viceroy tonight. Okay, what are we going to talk about? Well, they just finished a big conference in New York City called Consensus 2017, and a bunch of the big companies were there, and it seems that crypto coins have gone corporate. That's my take on the whole thing. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about ICO madness. Do you guys know what an ICO is?
Yes.
It's kind of like an IPO, but instead of an initial public offering, it's an initial coin offering. And if you do that, if you just change that one letter, then that means no regulation. So it's really cool. Yes, no, the SEC will not be interested if you just change that one letter. You're all set. And we're going to talk about Ether being over, well, it used to be over 100, but now it's over 200. What does it mean if Ether is over 200? What does it really mean? There was an essay written by Vinay Gupta on that topic, and no problem. Come on in. I'm going to attempt to troll Vinay Gupta. Yeah, I'm going to troll his article. And are there any like Ethereum fans / investors? All right. I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Troll them too?
Yes, I'm going to troll you guys, and I invite you to troll me back. Right? We're going to have fun. It's all going to be well, may the best man win. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
All right, let me share my screen here for the folks
Before
who
you invest that.
Just trying to quell his fear, so we can invest how much you should invest.
trash talking. It's always a good idea. All right, let me see.
Okay, you got a few tabs there, Jerry.
Hold on.
Always.
Yes. Hold on a second.
Makes you feel better because I do the same thing. So.
That's for this meeting.
Let's try this again. All right. Okay, so now these guys should be seeing the screen that we have here. And by the way, this is the chat room, guys. We can see you in the chat room, although it's not on the broadcast. And you guys help me watch this chat here. If anything interesting pops up there, let me know. All right.
Will you can dim the lights?
Yeah. There's a light switch right behind you, Chica.
That might make it more
Did I just turn them on?
No, but you could. All right.
Yeah, there you go.
Better?
No, it's
And
better
if you
than
wanna
this
get
one.
it-
Yeah, maybe the other one.
You can bring a chair in.
And
Where's the lights for that?
I don't know if we can focus that.
Focus that.
Anybody?
I think that's a switch in the other one.
Is there like is it manual focus, or is this thing focus?
Focus puller.
Okay, you can work on that, and I'll get things started here. All right, the filter number 119. Let's get going here. Hold on a sec. Having some technical difficulties.
Good. It's good. Okay.
It's amazing, Gary, what a huge price increase does to the number of people coming to the meetup.
Yes.
Oh, you mean it's not because I did a good job? No? Oh, okay.
It's a contrarian indicator. You know, when people
Let's have a show
turn
of
up in the
hands.
room.
Why are you
Show the coins.
It's okay, Michael. We'll
It's because Gary's back.
I think it might be like a manual focus on the. Well, that looked a little bit better. Pick it up on the top. Yeah. All right. That's good enough. All right, guys. I know you guys are here for Bitcoin, but we're going to talk about other things besides Bitcoin tonight. Does anyone have a problem with that? Is that okay? It's okay if we don't. You know, it's.
That's why it's called
There's Bitcoin on the top by market cap, but you can see the top 10 is taking up a much larger percentage of the total pie, right? So this is something that has developed since I left. It seems that the market is diversifying, and there are more and more competitors for Bitcoin itself. This is a relatively new phenomenon, but lots and lots of new money heading into these currencies. Now, one thing that's interesting about this is, Bitcoin used to be about 10 billion, and Ethereum was around 1 billion. And now the total market cap for all these coins is like, I don't know, 70. So does that mean that $62 billion came in? Like everybody out there, like injected 62 billion?
No.
Oh, no, no. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is counterintuitive. These prices, they're not all for sale, like all these tokens, they're not all for sale all the time, right? So it takes less than $62 billion to push the market cap of all those coins up. So it's something to appreciate because it looks bigger than it is. And yeah, it's something to understand about markets in general. It doesn't take, just because the market cap for all those coins went up to that value, it didn't take that much to drive it up. And also, if you were to try and get that value, if everybody were to cash out, we wouldn't get near that amount back out again because the price of everything would drop down before we started selling. So it's kind of a weird figure, the market cap, because it's a value, but there's no way you could actually get that value out if you tried to cash out. So anyway, just a little.
And that's different than.
Well,
No,
well, but it's a little bit counterintuitive, is why I make the point, because it seems like
how
there's.
many coins are available times basically the price.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. What coins are still not the coins that haven't been mined yet.
Right.
No.
These are coins that are in existence, like this circulating supply column
6.3.
Times the price.
times the price. Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a look at Bitcoin for a second here, guys. This is. Let me see here. Got my glasses. Look at how just nice and smooth this is. Oh, this is a logarithmic graph. This is what it looks like linearly. But when you graph it on a logarithmic scale, which means a straight line on a logarithmic scale means you've got exponential growth. And that's what we've got here. The slope of this line right here represents exponential growth on a logarithmic scale. So that means that, it means the price is going up a lot.
and
Exponentially.
that starts where from the bottom?
Down here, let's see. What's the price there?
When is that?
264.
So that's 2015.
264, and that's August 10th, 2015.
Yep. 15. Remember sitting in the doldrums here for practically a year?
That was the year that we had our month of Bitcoin in July of 2015. We tried to live on Bitcoin, boy, I wonder what all those.
Aren't you regretting that?
All those places that I spent money at, I wonder how much they're just sitting on little fortunes now, because we've had an exponential increase in price. It went from 264 to
It's the 10x.
2000. Yeah,
Pretty much close to 10x.
Yeah. 10x.
Yes.
Show me another investment.
Ben.
instead.
Ethereum.
Yeah. In the last
Um,
5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
Ripple.
Ripple.
Anyway, here is the last week of Bitcoin price. So we are in all-time high territory, and we've got this whipsaw effect happening as the market tries to decide what the new price of Bitcoin is. Because when you've got technical traders, usually one of the inputs for technical traders is the last all-time high. So when you get to a certain point where you no longer have that last indicator, like for all of your algorithms, then the market needs to decide what is that new all-time high. And this very much feels to me like it did back in 2013. At the very end of 2013, we had it just went ballistic. It went from, a couple $100s to $1,200, and then we had like a 4-year hangover when the bubble popped, right? So we can only hope that we're headed north. We're headed to all-time highs, but in a healthy way, so that it doesn't, it doesn't pop and burn a bunch of people. I'm getting all kinds of phone calls from people I haven't heard from in a while. Hey, I heard you're doing this Bitcoin thing. Like, I'm ready, man. And I don't want to see anyone get hurt or have to wait 4 years to get their investment back. So buyer beware, but we are in some frothiness. Hang on to your hats. By the way, this is like a fractal pattern, right? Willie Woo wrote this article. Where is it? The 3 cats and a moon and wait, what is it? 3 cats and a moon Bitcoin trading pattern, right? You can see we have a moon shot where everybody is all excited about the price, and then there's a bunch of profit taking, and the price goes back down to earth. But then a bunch of people who had FOMO the first time are like, oh, I got to get back in, and that's where the dead cat bounce happens. And Willie says that this happens, 2 or 3 times before Bitcoin makes another move up or makes another move down, right? This is we don't know what happens here, but you can see a good example of this pattern, right? And this happens on different scales, but in this case, we're mooning up to 2,700, and then there's a dead cat, there's a dead cat, now we're headed back up again, right? So it's easy to see in retrospect. It's difficult to make trading decisions on this. But
Stretch that back a couple years. The overall
right, what it does help you choose is based on the magnitude of the ones from the past. You can kind of tell where the new all-time high will be, or where the next bubble is likely to go. Right. The last time I think it was 9x, but each of them are cut in half in order of magnitude. Come on in. So this one could be 4x the last all-time high. So what's 4 times 1,200? Like, I don't know.
4,800.
Right. So we could see that before the bubble bursts. All right, guys. That's just another chart.
It's interesting. It's still trending up.
Yeah.
It's melting out, but
Well,
inching up.
what's interesting about this pattern is it represents like mass psychology, right? You can kind of like put your head into a trader that's like trying to ride the hype, right? And then somebody says, "Oh, it's gone up so much, I think I'm going to take my profits," and then that causes a stampede going down, and it's like this. It's weird that it happens over and over again because it's almost like a window into the psychology of the masses. It's like a mass psychosis. It's
Back to the other graph.
this one.
It's mellowing out but going up still. So I wonder if that's a consequence of just the popularity of the altcoins and other coins. Because in other instances, it kind of straightened or went down.
Yeah, you can see like especially the consolidation period. It can be longer or shorter.
We talked about this last time. People having to buy Bitcoin to buy Ethereum.
Although
Why did Trump appear in our comments?
So that's just on the chat.
I know.
Hello from
it's
London.
Trump saying hi.
Oh, okay.
It's great.
Thanks, Robin. Hello.
Sorry.
Anyway, yeah. Well, help me out, Ethereum, folks. You can buy Ethereum for fiat, right, on Coinbase and these other places. So you don't necessarily have to get into Bitcoin in order to buy Ethereum or I think you have to get you have to have kind of an on-ramp into the crypto world before you start buying things like Sia Coin or Storage or something like that.
Steam.
Decred, Steam. So yeah, there could be some demand for Bitcoin just as an on-ramp, and who knows, maybe that's part of what's happening here. But you don't really know. This exists in a wide world. A bunch of different people have different motivations. Japan is coming online. There's lots of excitement in Japan about Bitcoin. All the altcoins are going nuts, and I mean, it's a million factors, right?
Can they do for us at the office downtown? Just Bitcoin at Nerdine and.
Uh,
They can, yeah, I think they can just
Their
buy
exchange,
Bitcoin.
They're not trading on other.
But
Yeah,
they trade alts, but I think,
You have to do it through Bitcoin. You have to buy Bitcoin, then you can trade.
yeah, you have to buy
on
Bitcoin
the
first.
network. Okay.
Yep.
So we can do it right here.
Yeah.
On Jalan Sukma, everyone.
Yeah, you
Go
can
to
walk
the
over
little
there,
shop, and they can
cash in
help you.
hand.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at, that was the exciting part of Bitcoin. Let's look at the downside. These are all transactions that are waiting to be cleared. And if they're in the blue, they've been waiting for more than 12 hours. Every block in the Bitcoin blockchain is only 1 megabyte, but there is a constant value of about 100 megabytes worth of transactions that are waiting to be cleared, right? So that's 100 blocks worth of backlog of transactions. So now a lot of these transactions, people may have submitted it with a very low fee. So in that case, maybe the miners that are clearing transactions would rather have a higher fee. So it's understandable. You can see that that there's a bunching up of stuck transactions down at the lower end of the fee schedule, right? So these are all the cheapskates down here,
Okay.
and they have to wait, right? But the suggestion here is 352 satoshis per byte, and I think a transaction is about 150 bytes, something like that. So transactions are costing, even simple ones, $2 or $3. So it doesn't make sense to buy electricity. It doesn't make sense to buy Pulsa. It doesn't make sense to have lunch at Kismet.
I think
Maybe.
10% for electricity is still took 4 days.
Yeah. Well, it's a function of the fee that you attach, and your wallet makes a choice on your behalf.
Choice, yeah.
So if it makes a bad choice, then yeah, it's just a bad user
And
experience.
still 10%.
It's a bad user experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it's not a function of the percentage. Like you could send 30 cents and it would cost you $3, or you could send $1 million and it would cost you $3.
No. I mean, the fee was 10% that
Right.
that the wallet put.
Right. It's not a function of the value though.
Yeah, it's an absolute number.
Yeah. It's
Oh, I see.
a function of the size of the transaction, not the
It's
amount
like
that
an
you're sending.
ATM fee. So if you're just going to
That's
charge
right.
whatever it is.
Like an ATM fee, it's fixed, regardless of what.
Gary,
It's
I'm sorry.
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt. Is there anybody else waiting for the bank to send you 2 very small deposits so you can join Coinbase? They send you these very under $1 deposits.
yeah, I've experienced that in the past.
And it's been 10 days and they haven't sent those 2 small deposits yet. I'm ready to buy. But
Well, I didn't prepare a tab on this, but they're trying to onboard like 40,000 people a week or something
Yes.
crazy. Like it's like a stadium full of people every week trying to get onto Coinbase. So
Yes.
I presume that they're just have a
Same
backlog.
thing with Kraken. They take a month to verify you.
really,
Yeah, tier 3 verification takes a month.
Do it here, it's much faster.
Just get
What
a
is-
yeah,
Do
on
it
the
here,
local.
it's much faster.
Yeah.
Jalan
What's here?
Sukma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what is it called?
We'll point you in the right
Bitcoin.co.uk.
direction afterward.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So because these transactions have gotten more expensive, check out what the miners are making. This is the halvening, right? This is when the block reward got cut in half, right? And you can see that the fees have now just totally eclipsed the block reward, where they're making, in the last month, they've quadrupled their fee or their amount of money per block. So they are loving it, right? And this is why none of them want to change, why they don't want to adopt segregated witness, why they don't want to change the block size, they're happy as clams, right? They're making lots and lots of money. They don't care about your little transaction that's stuck. They're quite happy for you to figure out a way to attach more of a fee next time. And so this is the economic impasse we currently find ourselves in. The miners are making all this money, and we want the fees to come down, and so there's a deadlock. We're going to talk about that next week, about exactly how that works. There's a compromise in the works. Well, compromise. It's actually a bit of a civil war. And yeah, we're going to go into detail next week. So you're not going to want to miss next week's show. We just don't have time to get into it this time.
Is there also major tailwinds for other altcoins like Ether? Yeah,
well, this is driving people. This is also probably why there's interest in all these other altcoins, because it's a bit of a hedge. In fact, there are whole use cases that you can no longer use Bitcoin for. Yeah. So who's going to take the place?
Like BitPay's business model doesn't make sense anymore.
Business models don't work.
None of these fees.
And
Even for all of them.
Yeah.
It's stuff.
And remittance, which was such a big one.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's get into the meat of today, though. We're going to talk about initial coin offerings.
Is Willie
I don't
He's
see
in
Willie.
Georgia. He just said, I'm from Georgia. Robin said, I have a question. Why do you guys think that Bitcoin Indonesia is trading 15% higher than European exchanges?
That's weird. At the Indonesian exchange is selling Bitcoins for a premium. Why are Bitcoins more expensive here in Indonesia than in Europe?
Currency controls.
Currency controls.
Currency controls.
They're not
Capital
looking at
controls.
external markets. They're just buying a little bit each morning and hopefully selling it off at some point during the day.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what the starting price is.
Right.
In South
But
Korea,
why doesn't
That's driving it up.
Why doesn't arbitrage close that gap? Why aren't there people that are saying, "Whoa, I can sell my Bitcoins in Indonesia for a $500 premium"?
They limit how much you can pull out.
Yeah, on the fiat side.
and you
No,
can't
and
buy
yeah,
dollars.
on the
the
Bitcoin
wallet.
side too.
You can't trade more than I think $10,000 worth of Bitcoin.
Right. There was a in the group, in our Facebook group, we had a little conversation about arbitrage because somebody recognized this gap, and they're like, "Hey, I think we can automate this. I can start making money." And it is an interesting thought exercise. But when you go to do it, it's
I tried opening an account at Coin One in Korea, South Korea last night, and there's no problem getting the coins in or getting it out because I don't have a South Korean bank account. So to get it to clear and back out is the problem.
In South Korea, it's trading at $4,800.
Yeah, it's 25% higher.
here's the arbitrage play.
Yeah.
You fly to South Korea and you sell your Bitcoins on the street with local Bitcoins, and you take your Korean vacation for a 20% discount.
This is how BitPay makes money. BitPay's arbitrage play.
Yeah, but then you lose all your traveling and all that.
Yeah,
basically.
it's not cost effective.
Unless you have a reason to go to Korea anyways.
This is how you choose your next vacation destination. Where is the biggest premium? Bitcoin.
Yeah, maybe that's why he wants people to come to Bali.
Yes,
If you can
yes.
open a bank account when you go, then maybe it can work long term.
Yeah. I think it's good to have a bank account in multiple places. It's just part of diversifying your portfolio. And South Korea is nice, right? What are they selling for? $4,000 US dollars?
$4,000.
Yeah.
I reckon that
It went to 4,800.
Come down.
Come down.
If you had a U.S. passport, you might have a problem,
And it was
but
4,300
for others, I think it's a little
Well, it had
easier.
a huge spike in India, too.
I did some of the arbitrage this week. I
India.
made
Indonesia's
$500.
It
But
is.
now,
Nice one.
I
now
think
you figure out
the
how to get money
confidence
back.
game and
Yeah.
Yeah, but it went nuts.
It was only like an hour and a half of work.
Robbie thing.
Right.
$500. It's like,
Yeah, nice one. All right, guys. Next topic.
Next topic.
WTF is an ICO. Did you guys see this article here? All right. Let's see. It wasn't very long ago that Bitcoin felt nascent, laughable, and small. In the ensuing years, Bitcoin has matured, become a far less risible, and grown massively. Underscoring Bitcoin's maturation, the currency set a new price record this week and valued over $2,000. So people are looking at the next way to get rich, right? They're not looking at Bitcoin anymore. Uh-oh. What did I do there?
You open it, yeah.
Hey, Willie Woo has a
Okay.
comment there. Willie Woo has a comment up there.
Yeah. You read it, and I'll continue on if it's a good
What
one.
does Willie say?
Can you read this?
Okay.
Because we are closer to Korea and Japan.
Let's read Willie Woo's comment.
Let's see.
Okay, here we go. In particular, a milieu of freshly launched coins is a newly famous transaction type we need to understand called the initial coin offering, or ICO. An ICO is akin to an IPO, right? And what this is it's kind of like a security. Is anybody here getting involved in ICOs? Right. Okay. And so, what has been your experience? Like, what is it? What do you understand that you are buying in the case of an ICO?
Well, there's a coin. There's a both. I think it's a coin and a debit card called Monaco, Monaco, and that's an example of an ICO that's just about to open. What you're buying is essentially tokens for their network, I guess. I think with some ICOs, it's not like currency, is it? You're joining. They offer a certain number of tokens which you can subscribe to, and it's not like equity. I don't think it's more based on whether people use their system or not.
Right.
So it's not equity, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on in, guys. Try and find a spot. We'll find a spot for you. The more, the merrier.
So Monaco has their own, if you go to the list of all the coins, it has their own network, I guess, of the tokens you can use for their Monaco card. So it's a double edge.
Right. So that's what's very interesting about these things that are being offered. And that was a great description, and I think you made the distinction, like you're not actually getting equity in the company. And this is the point that I kind of wanted to make when we talk about these, because it's easy to think of a coin as a share in the company, right? Like, let's say that they have a really good idea, like we're going to replace Amazon cloud storage, or we're going to create a decentralized Facebook, or we're going to do whatever they want to do, and you think that's a great idea. And so you think you're buying a share in that company, but that's not, well, in many cases, that's not what you're buying. And if that is indeed what they are selling, then there is a lot of regulations that go along with offering equity, because that's a security, right? That becomes a security. And I've spent some time in chat rooms with people that are like up to here in these projects or thinking about doing these things, and they don't understand the difference. And it's so easy to do this thing.
Is it just simply semantics? I mean, when you're buying, if you're doing the ICO, you're buying the coin, but it's a proxy for shares. That's it.
Well, it can be, or it can be something different, because you could also be buying a token that has value in the system that you're creating, right? So it's redeemable for a service that you're creating, more akin to a Kickstarter, right?
Or a
Crowdfunding.
flyer.
Right, crowdfunder. And so that's the model that I think they're selling, or they're trying to go for. But there's a lot of fuzziness. I don't think
Maybe
everybody.
that's what they're marketing it as, is more towards crowdfunding, so that they can basically hide the fact it's essentially a proxy for shares.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, this is where it gets a little fuzzy, because normally you would go to a VC and you would raise money, and that's the money that you would use to pay the developers to do everything. I guess that's the same thing with a Kickstarter or something. You have an idea for, I don't know, a new Frisbee, and it doesn't exist yet, and people pre-buy the Frisbees, right? And then they go out and do it, and they have the money in advance. It's like pre-buying, right? But in this case, you're pre-buying something, but you don't know really the economics of it in advance. Right?
You know what it's similar to? It's like going into an arcade and using tokens to use the games in the arcade. You don't know if the whole arcade is going to be successful or not.
Right.
So you're not buying shares in the arcade. You're buying tokens so you can play the games in the arcade.
Right.
So Ethereum is a really good example. That's the one that's probably the most successful now. I don't know if they did an ICO to kick off Ethereum. Ethereum isn't a currency. It's a big arcade on which all these big companies are using to play the game. So, for instance, Toyota has just launched something on Ethereum, which is to compete compete with Uber, so they can do driverless cars on top of the Ethereum network. So your Ethereum tokens can effectively be used for that. They're arcade game.
But that's a good analogy, and the question I have is, with this arcade that exists in the future, you don't know if a token gets you one play or a token gets you like half a second play.
And the price of the tokens are going up. Like Ethereum's gone up 100% in 4 days, from $100 to $200 after a big crash, to be fair. But that's the price of the tokens gone up. It's still a token.
Well, and the other thing to consider is, what is the size of the market that solution is going to serve? Because people are used to thinking with crypto, they're used to thinking about the size of the market for replacing money, right? Like Bitcoin is worth $37 billion, and it has that valuation because the value of the market that it could possibly replace is worth hundreds of trillions.
You know what, for Ethereum, it's actually, the high end is 1.4 quadrillion, because it's the effects market.
It's the what?
The effects market.
Oh,
It's $5 trillion a day, which is 1.4 quadrillion for the year for the effects market. And if you can replace that with Ethereum, that's the size of the market.
Right, but that's the value of the money that's trading hands in the FX market, and Ethereum would facilitate that. Right. So is that 5 trillion, or is that something smaller?
But it's like, if they're replacing the effects market by putting something on top of Ethereum to replace it.
Right.
What they're replacing is the settlements of that 4 or 5
Yes.
million.
Right.
Not
The
the
settlements of
itself.
not the 5 trillion itself, but the settlement
But the
of it.
settlement,
Which still could be big,
Which,
but
which is still like one pip of that 5 trillion market.
do you want to read it?
Right, okay.
0.01%.
So Willie, our ICOs are very liquid instruments. This means that it's easy to exit. Savvy investors buy ICOs because they know there will be greater fools to exit at a higher price. The telling projects are the ones where seasoned investors do not exit. So,
Well, that's a theory.
Well-
Beautiful theory applies to all asset classes.
Yeah.
And there are now 3 companies which are doing FX settlements on Ethereum blockchain. The very first one is called ICAP, ICAP, English company, UK. ICAP, check it out.
Okay, so moving on. Did you have another point? Or? Okay. The Financial Times calls ICOs unregulated issuance of crypto coins where investors can raise money in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, which is accurate, especially if you underline the word unregulated. So instead of an IPO, you have an ICO. ICO coins are essentially digital coupons, tokens issued on an indelible distributed ledger or blockchain of the kind that underpins Bitcoin, a cryptocurrency. That means that they can easily be traded, although unlike shares, they do not confer ownership rights, right? So it goes on to say that, you know, some of these coins have already done things like locking up your initial investment so that people can't speculate, you know, basically pump and dump. They're trying to slow down the pump and dump cycle. And these are the things that I think savvy investors will begin to look for ICOs. But for the moment, it is totally unregulated. I did a little search on the SEC, and nothing at all on the SEC website about ICOs. However, there was just a big conference in New York City, and apparently there were lots of people handing out SEC business cards, and yeah, well, hopefully these people that are doing this have talked to a lawyer, because you can go to jail for this kind of thing.
In the U.S., yeah.
In
Like
the
what's going on in Japan? Like they just legitimized this, right?
You know, most ICOs are gone 100x in last year or so.
Yeah.
Golan, for example, I don't know, and
yeah,
Humanique or Human IQ, several fold.
Well, yeah, and if you know, especially if those things go to zero, or it's determined that they were selling securities without a license.
Yeah.
Even if no one got hurt, I think they can still go to jail, right? Because it's you have to get the bonds and have your own regulatory framework in place before.
So if you're thinking of issuing an ICO, choose a jurisdiction first.
Right. Exactly so.
And consider a life where you can never go to the United States again.
Like Steam has a market cap of 500 million now. You know.
What?
if you go to steemit.com, the interface is clunky. I couldn't use it. You know.
Well, you too could create your own cryptocurrency with Ethereum. This is the Ethereum website, and basically, you can just cut and paste some code and buy yourself some Ethereum and gas, and you're off to the races. We were actually ahead of the game. Back in October, we did a Skillshare. We created Hubud Coin, and I think I still have 400 of those. I'll give you a good deal on those after the show tonight. But it is quite easy. There's this thing called the ERC20 token standard, and I heard somebody mention Gollum.
Yeah.
Right, and there's some others like the Gnosis coin. There's all these coins are being created on the Ethereum platform using this token standard, right? Which is some code that somebody wrote that you can just borrow and use, right? You don't need to figure out how to write coin code. Somebody else has thought of it all for you, and you can just instantiate this code for your own coin, and whiz bang boom, you can do your ICO.
Can you
right?
find that?
Sure. Is it a Jeep coin? Is that what it's called? Jeep coin. All right, I'm in. But does anybody see a problem with this approach?
Some applications.
I know I'm not going to hear from the Ethereum folks.
Some applications, now the Ethereum's so high, some of the applications don't work. The same problem with Bitcoin, transaction cost goes up.
Yeah, I mean, maybe someone can comment more on this, but I have heard that Ethereum transaction fees are going up, although Robin in the group said that he can do all the transactions he wants for less than a penny. So I don't know exactly how that works. Anything else? So a lot of tokens are using this standard, and this is based on the Ethereum blockchain. So what do you need in order to implement your own coin? Right. So you got your coin, which requires Ethereum, right? So you've got a coin on a coin.
It's just a standard. It's a benchmark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a derivative.
Well, it's if you peg a currency to gold, is it a derivative?
It is. Its value is derived from the value of gold.
There we go.
Right. So you got Ethereum. Ethereum has a value.
Strange. I'm just saying it's not strange.
It's a linear.
Right. It's not strange.
It's not strange.
But it is like it's a little bit of a head scratcher, right?
It'll probably help Ethereum. That's the point.
Well, yeah.
It's like the App Store.
Right.
It's
So
like the App Store for
Ethereum has gone through the roof, and then all these coins that are built on Ethereum have gone through the roof. Like is the real value there? Is my question, my open question.
And it was the same question for Bitcoin too. And now we see they're using Bitcoin as a reserve as all this is going on, right? Everybody has to go back through Bitcoin because Bitcoin has proven itself for being stable. And so we're like, okay, mystery solved. It's the store of value. That makes sense now, right?
Well, yes. Bitcoin has been around for a long time, and it has more liquid markets. It's got a lower volatility levels than these other coins, and it does make you wonder. Well, if the markets are liquid enough for people to make their exit, right? If a bunch of people want to exit out of, say, Gollum or Gnosis or these other coins, well, it's certainly going to affect the price of those coins.
Right.
Also, do you guys? I'm an old developer. And I remember Microsoft used to tempt us with these little tools and these little tidbits of code. And ultimately what it would do is it would kind of lock you into their platform, right? They had all these little goodies that make it really easy to program. But then, when it came time to make a change, we don't support that any longer, right? Or there are problems, right? And does this create a single point of failure, right? Like, let's say that there's a bug in this token standard, right? But it's 10 years from now, and the guy that wrote it doesn't have it. And there's 1,000 coins that use this standard. All of a sudden, they're all exposed to this bug. How does that?
Well, isn't it similar to Amazon Cloud for storing or using Amazon to run your app?
Yeah.
There's plenty of app developers all using Amazon.
That's right.
Which creates one
AWS.
point of failure.
Yeah.
And it does happen sometimes.
Yeah.
But then it's one point, and then they fix it, and
Yeah.
everything's okay again.
That's
so
right.
you could argue the opposite, which is it's safer.
Right, but that's code. This is actual value. Let's say that you've got $1 million worth of Gollum and it disappears. And you're like, oh, okay, well, we'll fix that. That won't happen again.
That's it. It won't happen again, right?
Right, but it's like, what about before?
It won't happen again.
Right, well, and this is what happened with the DAO.
Yes.
Right, and they were able to go back and rewrite history, and that we had that whole story, which we followed closely when it was going on.
Sorry,
But the DAO was the first project on the Ethereum platform that basically had a big problem. They had to roll back the blockchain, and
is that what led to the forking of Ethereum?
Yes.
Ethereum Classic, and now we have Ethereum
Yes.
because of that.
Right.
Oh, I see.
And Ethereum itself rolled back the blockchain. Ethereum Classic said we're going to stick to our original agreement and not change history.
Right.
Code is law,
Right.
and that's when we had the split.
Yes.
So the bigger point to make here is that first of all, there are economies that are very difficult to understand that are being invested in. Right. When you buy a token, you're actually buying a ticket that you can redeem later for something, and you don't really know what that is. Right now, and my only concern is that we've seen Bitcoin go crazy, and it's worth billions and billions of dollars because of the market that it's trying to replace is so valuable. And you can have the same stampede mentality, thinking that you can have the same kind of gains, and many people have, in terms of multipliers, but the ultimate market that coin services could be minuscule in comparison, right? And also, it may not need a blockchain. The blockchain is a very specific piece of technology that does, it's a very expensive, very slow database. And there are other databases that are cheaper and faster. Yes. And if you don't need trust for this thing you're building, then you probably don't need a blockchain. And it makes me question, like, blockchain for Uber cars, maybe, but maybe not. It's just something to consider. I'm not I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade.
There's an ICO in Switzerland called Melonport. Melonport could be an Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't need distributed ledger. It was just an asset management software to build your portfolio, like Prism, done by Shapeshift.
Yeah.
Melonport is another ICO. They raised $2 million in a matter of 45 minutes.
Yes, because they use the magic word fintech, right?
That's
and
right.
everyone
Fintech, blockchain.
Blockchain, yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
take my money. Take my money.
Yeah, where do we sign?
So I'm just suggesting that this is a way to think about things. And I think I think Willie put it in my head originally. He thinks about things in terms of a venture capitalist, and the venture capitalist will show up. Okay, what's your idea? Or is the team good? Is everybody here competent? And then what's the differentiator? Why is this going to be better? And then what's the size of the market that we're going to displace? And if it's, if you're going to disintermediate Uber and make everything less expensive, like maybe the Uber market is $100 million, but your solution makes it worth, something exponentially less. Is the token, if you divide it up, really worth what everyone thinks it is?
It actually doesn't matter if everybody goes crazy over it.
Well, there's an interesting analog, and that is Amazon.com stock. Right? Anybody own Amazon.com stock? Anybody looked at the price to earnings ratio on Amazon? It's like 200 years.
Yes.
Like if you
But it used to be 1,700 years.
1,700 years.
So it's better
Right.
now.
Way better.
So do you get is that
Netflix 440 years.
so? But that's what it trades at. There's enough people that aren't. They
They're bust.
it's a weird thing, right? Like if you were going to buy an ice cream truck, and you're like, oh, okay, the ice cream truck is $1,000, and an ice cream cone is $1. So, if I buy the ice cream truck, like after 2 years, I'm making money. But if you bought Amazon.com, you wouldn't actually be making money like for 1,700 years.
Yes.
So why would you buy that
Unless
thing?
they're the greater food buying from you.
Yeah, well, you're counting on someone who doesn't understand PE ratios to come and buy it after you, or they're like, oh, I love Amazon, I'll buy it. They're great. I get my stuff the next day. Anyway, okay. What's this? Okay, thoughts on tokens. You guys remember this guy, Balaji? Really smart thinker. I think he's the CEO of 21.co. Trump was thinking of making him the head of the FDA, which was really a weird thing. Maybe catch anybody's radar?
Maybe he knows a lot about amino acids.
Yeah. Okay, so basically he's talking about these things called tokens. These things didn't exist before. I mean, frequent flyer miles, maybe. I think the arcade example, that's a good example of tokens. But what is the meaning of these things in the world of the future? Tokens are possible because of 4 years of digital currency infrastructure. So he says, basically we've got these blockchains, we've got these real things in the digital world, which we didn't have before. Like when it used to be when you'd copy a song, you could copy it over and over again and give it to all your friends. And it wasn't if you have it, I can't have it too, is the problem we solve, the double spend problem. So that's what these tokens are. It's the first real thing in the digital world. It's like an actual real thing. No two people can have it at the same time. And that's the road we've built for the last 4 years. Tokens vary in their underlying blockchain code bases. But there's the Bitcoin blockchain, there's chains that have forked from those things, but he's just kind of laying the groundwork. He's saying that here is him talking about the fact that these coins like Gollum and Gnosis are using this ERC20 standard. So he's talking a little bit about the technology, but then he says, what are you really buying, right? And he's saying you're buying a private key. Right, and so when you think about it, if you've got the private key, then you've got the ability to update the database, and that's really what we're doing is updating a database. He likens it to an API key. Tokens are analogous to API keys, and do you guys know what an API key is? It's like it gives you the ability to interact with some computing resources out on the internet. And like I have an API key, and JP has an API key, and Amazon can bill us based on how much we use, right? Well, this is like an API key that you can pass around, right? I can sell my API key to somebody else, or pass it around, and so he makes that analogy. But if you didn't know what an API key was in the beginning, then maybe it's not the greatest analogy. And then he goes on to say that tokens are the new model for startups, right? So this is where we're getting into this ICO territory, where he's like, well, you no longer have to go to a venture capital firm and have a minimum viable product and like convince them to give you money so you can hire some developers and get started. Instead, you can create a nice website. You can go to Ethereum and cut and paste some code, and hire some slick marketing people, and you can actually raise way more money than is flowing through venture capital channels.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the gold rush. We talk about 1849, the gold rush in the United States, when that's where the San Francisco 49ers got their name. It's 1949 is when they all went to try and get rich from the gold. Right. That's what's going on here now. Is people realize they've got a little bit of marketing savvy, they got a little bit of computing savvy, and it's a bit of a land grab. And there's a lot of skullduggery going on, and that's why I think it's just useful to give yourself a framework to evaluate these things, right? And
issue your own.
Right. Well, I think this is part of the point that he was making about what you're buying are keys, because the scams will offer to manage those keys for you.
Yes.
So it's one of the things to.
And if you're wise, you look at the gold rush and look at who made the real money in the gold rush.
The pickaxes and shovels.
Pickaxes, shovels, and Levi's.
That's right, Levi's. Levi's was the one. Yeah.
But in this case, they're going to lose their pants.
Yes.
So he says it's an alternative to traditional financing. Tokens can be bought by any American. And then he goes on to say that like it blurs the lines, or basically takes out the jurisdictional roadblocks that we have with these other financing mechanisms, and starts adding multipliers. So you can sell to anybody in the United States, not just accredited investors, right? Like if you're starting a new company and you're offering equity, you need to only sell to accredited investors, meaning they have the expertise to evaluate the investment. Yeah, you can get by those people. So there's that. And then there's a 20 to 25% increase because you can access buyers all over the world. And then you have a 1,000 times improvement because you've got liquidity. And, well, what could go wrong? I mean, it's like this avalanche of money, right? You like, everybody knows that some people got really rich with Bitcoin. This is the next big thing, and it's complicated enough where not everybody can understand it. You see a slick website, like all your friends are doing it, and you know, a little bit of money goes in. If it's a thin market, it can drive the price way up. And there are people that are just in it to take people's money. Like they don't believe at all in the project. They don't believe in all that it's going to succeed. They just think that the price will go up, and they're taking active measures to drive the price up. That's the pump, and they collude with others in order to dump at the appropriate time. And you know, all of a sudden you're left holding the bag, thinking that, you know, some idea was a really good idea, but the whole project is dead because it was whipsawing all around. And
yeah, Willie makes a comment about that earlier about how he's referring back to the ICO stuff, the similar stuff, controlling a significant percentage of the coins. Yeah, so the people who establish the token or the coin keep that in reserve, but they use that reserve to be able to play with the price, so they can pump up the price.
Yeah.
And then cash out, but then they can then drop it by basically pennies on the dollar and repeat that process.
Yes, they'll go in and find a coin that's everybody is ignoring.
Shit coins.
like Steam went to over $6.
They crash the price but do not exit. They keep dumping out the coin until the back is broken on the coin, and then they accumulate over the long term, then set up another bullish trading pattern using the buying power from the coins that were collected in the dump. They buy at pennies on the dollar. They keep the waves going, farming each tidal wave until the project's dead.
Right. And
that's what's happening now.
Yeah. And so, and this is why I asked a question in the group. I said, is it ethically okay to buy a coin just because you think it will go up? And I was definitely in the minority in my opinion that I don't think that's okay. Because, well, I'll just make the case. I'm not judging anybody, because I think, you know, I'm a big believer that things need to be anti-fragile. So you need to be free to buy whatever you want, right? And maybe it takes people getting burned for these things to become anti-fragile, right? But I think that we would all get to where we want to go more quickly if we actually voted for the projects that we thought would work, and did more value investing instead of like, trend investing. Now, and if there's enough people doing what Willie described, then the value investors just get washed away. Like they might not even get a chance to try and realize that real world goal, because the wind got sucked out of their sails because you know, the money all disappeared. So I don't know. It's you know, when I was voting in the primaries in the U.S. election, you know, people say things like, "Don't vote for that guy. He's not electable," right? And then if enough people like make that decision, then you never find out if you know, like maybe if everyone wasn't buying into that story, like the actual something else might happen. But
Party could have been president.
And the non-electable became the president.
Yeah, right. All right. So speaking of ICOs, check this out. Does anybody recognize this guy, James? I think James is launching an ERC20 coin on the Ethereum blockchain to enable farm-to-cup blockchain efficiency for specialty coffee trade. So this is a guy that I think he's mostly in Penang these days, but he comes to Bali every once in a while. I'm hoping we can get together. This could be
sort of the first Bitcoin business in Bali.
Yeah, he yeah, that was like really early days. He sold a bunch of coffee online for Bitcoin, and that was when Bitcoin took its first moon trip.
By the way, this ICO pump and dump you mentioned, one of the red flag is the white paper, in addition to English, is also in Chinese and Russian.
Oh, if the white paper is in those other languages, that's a bad sign. Also, if the white paper has lots of colorful pictures in it, that's probably. But I don't mean to conflate his project with scams. By the way, I don't know if and he's really smart, and I don't think that he's I don't think he's trying to rip anybody off.
There's something like that for cacao.
For coffee.
No. There's another one for cacao.
There's another one for cacao. Really?
A blockchain for cacao?
I think every food item should have its own blockchain. Really.
Yes.
I mean, ideally.
It's interesting because it's essentially eliminating the middleman and allowing farmers that aren't able to. There are a lot of places in the world where the farmers don't have collectives. They have no selling power. They have no access to information, and they're basically screwed. But when you enable these things, you're essentially opening it up where they're able to have much more guarantee on what price they get and that they're going to get paid, and that allows them actually then to invest in their farm because it's on the blockchain. This is open ledger. They actually develop a credit history, so then that allows them then to borrow money to add equipment or add more staff. These things, so they're seeing this as a possible way to bring kind of really basic farming up to a higher level. So a lot of focus is in Africa.
So, yeah, and I mean, I don't know all the details, but you're getting into the area where you might need distributed trust, right? Where trust might be the thing that's being provided. Like, and that's when you're like, oh, maybe a blockchain is a good idea because you got the farmers in this country and the distributors in this country and the retailers in here, and there's a big long chain, and they all have to cooperate and have a history with one another, but they all have a vested interest in maybe gaming the system or lying or cheating. And if you can have a blockchain that has a version of reality that everyone can agree on, and you can encounter a brand new coffee farmer, you've never met them before, but you've got an immutable ledger with their whole history that they can point to, they have the keys for it, and all of a sudden you can do business with that person, that's a big deal. And that's what you should, that's what I think when you're evaluating these investment opportunities, you think like, what value does the blockchain offer?
Isn't that what Roberto was trying to do with the Bune? It's like business to business.
He was, and he was trying to arbitrate identity and reputation, and hey, there's a new printer, is this a good printer or not, or a new accountant.
But is this going to work? Because this is based on Ethereum, yeah? Ethereum blockchain.
This is it's my understanding.
I'm curious to know, has the price increase made this not viable anymore?
Good question. I don't know.
Well, it does, because you raise your money in dollars. So if you're raising $5 million and Ether is at 5 million, you just raise one Ether.
But if this is similar to the using the blockchain to report transactions. So someone brings in, 50 kilos of coffee beans. They record that transaction on the blockchain. There is a cost there.
Right. It is the economics of what he's actually trading after the fact. This is after it's actually been developed. Are the economics of his coin correct for the economy he's building around this this thing? And that's
regardless of the price of Ether.
Right. Well, but if Ethereum transactions are too expensive for him to run his system, well,
which currently are not.
Right. Although I've heard different stories on that, but I don't know enough to say yes or no.
Andres Antonopoulos did a very good 15 minutes video. It's called Lion versus Shark.
Yeah.
It talks about pros and cons of Bitcoin blockchain and Ethereum blockchain.
Lion versus shark. Yeah. Which one is the lion?
Bitcoin is a lion.
Okay.
And shark is Ether.
Okay.
Ethereum.
Okay.
So which is more powerful? It depends on the environment.
Yeah.
You put them in the ring, and now it depends if the ring is filled with water.
Right. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Oh, that Andreas, he's such a smart guy. All right. Let's keep talking here, guys. We're about running out of time, but is everybody cool? We can go a little bit longer. New York City, for the basement bottom price of $26.99, you could have attended Consensus 2017.
That's one Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Measured in Bitcoin.
Consensus,
That's right.
Consensus 2017 with all the big players. You know, Deloitte and Touche was there. Citibank. This woman is from Citibank. The CEO of Coinbase, and there's and there was lots and lots of enterprise, like what they call enterprise there. Does that mean anything to anybody?
Ethereum.
Yeah, I think that's what Ethereum. That's why Ethereum's ratio to Bitcoin is decreasing. I think there's not only just tailwinds from traditional asset classes or traditional companies, but also alternative people like crypto space, crypto spheres.
Enterprise Ethereum.
Yeah. Yes, they signed something called the Etherium Alliance or something like
like 56
Enterprise
Right.
Ethereum Alliance.
And it's like Microsoft and
Yeah.
Deloitte and Touche and
56 companies.
That's a red
Evil
flag.
empire, yeah.
well, it reminds me of the whole R3 thing. Remember the R3 thing where there was that consortium of all
Yes.
those banks?
Yes,
Yes,
R3 is there, I think, right?
It's still around.
Mike Hearn left the
The community.
Bitcoin core development team to join R3.
Yeah.
Kind of-
And I don't know what the latest is on R3, but
I thought that everybody was pulling off.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I know
Pulled
some
out,
pulled out and they open sourced some of what they had developed together, but well, and that's passed. This is the new consortium, right? This is the Etherium Alliance, and they want to well, they've got all these ideas about what they want to do with Ethereum, and I guess they want to cooperate in order to make those things happen. But from what I can glean, and I think a lot of these things will be online if they're not online already, the talks are the whole thing. It was a huge conference. I mean, it was, you know, really took up the news cycle in terms of crypto for a week, and it was all about the ICOs, and it was all about the enterprise, like people walking around with suits instead of hoodies at the conference.
Yeah.
So
Wall Street was there in droves.
right, and it happened in New York City itself. So there's a couple other things that people posted in the group that I just wanted to highlight. Some lessons I learned from the .com bubble are for the coming crypto bubble. And he makes the point that all these people at Consensus were like 23 years old. Like they weren't around. They weren't around during the .com bubble, right? So crusty old guys like me are like, in my day, we bet on pets.com. Remember pets.com? No, you don't. You don't remember pets.com. What about furniture.com? Everybody's buying their furniture on. Oh,
60
no.
million valuation.
That ban.
60 million.
But I thought the interesting thing was rule number 1: retain your critical faculties.
Yes.
Retain your critical faculties. This is sage advice, time immemorial. You can't go wrong. Think critically about what you're buying. And if you're, well,
There's a book written, it's called This Time is Different.
Yeah.
The other thing I thought was interesting was beware vanity metrics, because something that was happening during the .com bubble, and by the way, I think this happened with Snap recently as well.
Yes.
Like vanity metrics. I've got this many users. I've got this many page views. You know, yeah. But what
If they were launching an IPO, that vanity had purpose.
well,
What's the valuation of Snapchat now?
something less than the IPO
It
price.
just went IPO in first week of March, right?
Yeah.
6 or 7 billion.
Yeah, I think they underestimated the market value of kids living in their parents' basement.
Right. They were offered $2 billion by Facebook a couple of years ago.
But what's interesting though is the vanity metric for ICOs is freaking money, like that they raised. Like, hey, we raised $50 million, and we're like 14 kids, you know, that haven't hired a developer yet. And I just thought that was interesting because he's talking about vanity metrics from the .com bubble, but in the ICO world, the vanity metric is like we raised 25 Bitcoin, you know. So anyway, that's a good article. That's in the group. Let me see what else. Oh, okay. So we've got just a few minutes left to talk about Ethereum being $100, right?
200.
210.
Yes.
200.
So he's actually making this correction himself. What does $200 Ether mean? Today, Ether hit $100. Whoops, whoopsie-daisy, it's $200. I wrote this a couple weeks ago. I just want to talk about this for a minute. There's a lot to this essay, and if you haven't looked at it already, it's really good. He paints an awesome picture about what's possible. But I just I wanted to troll him a little bit, or at least challenge the narrative that he's laying down here, just to do it, because I think there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of people investing that I don't know if they fully understand what they're investing in, and really this feels to me like, you ever see those guys in venture capital, like, oh, it's awesome, we just raised $2 million, and like they're popping the champagne and they're like, wait a second, like you just raised the money, now you actually have to go out and do something. Like you don't actually have anything yet. Like raising the money is not the goal. It's like building something.
Maybe it is the goal for some.
And there's a bit of I just tasted that a little bit when I read this. It's like, hey, Ethereum is $200. By the way, it's been $200 for like a couple weeks. Like it's not, we don't really know where Ethereum's going to be. Yes, it's a vote of confidence, which is what he's saying here. Now that it's $100, yeah, this is a vote of confidence. This is money that can be used to support Ethereum for a long time to come. But yeah, I think that all those people that drove it to that price, and again, just because Ethereum is worth $8 or $9 billion, or is it over 10 now? 16. I'm sorry. 16. So it doesn't take $16 billion to drive the Ethereum market cap to 16 billion, right? So then it doesn't mean that they have $16 billion of actual money to do that development with, right? So it's just important to keep that in mind. And so what he's saying is, let's see. Yeah. Our market cap will approach 10 billion. It's now 16 billion. By all and any standards, this is a success beyond anything we dreamt of when the project started. And the money raised will continue to finance technical innovation for years to come. And that's the statement I'm picking on. And then, he's making another positive statement later on that I think is really can be flipped on its ear. And that is, so this $100 per Ether price means that that's $500 every 12 seconds, $2,500 every minute, $3.6 million every day, just in mined new Ether, right? So the Ethereum miners that are creating new Ether are creating Ether that's valued right now at $500 every 12 seconds. And my question is, when you go to cash in your Ether, is Ethereum going to be providing something that's as valuable as $500 for 12 seconds? It's just an open question, but like you're buying Ether, you're going to spend that Ether later on something. Yeah. And that something, is it this valuable or not?
I don't know.
Well, it's like stock market. It's a discounting mechanism. So it's not $500 today. It's $500 maybe 10 years from now.
So it's even more expensive because the future value of money, it's
discounting the future today.
Right. It's maybe undervalued. It's maybe significantly undervalued because of what the future offers.
For the future offers. If you have millions of applications running on Ethereum, then it's justified price today.
It's not even just undervalued.
Undervalued or fair.
Right. Well,
it's like analogies like toll roads. You have toll roads, and so Ethereum is a toll road, and all these applications are cars driving on those things. So you're expecting how many cars will drive on this toll road 10 years from now, because the toll road is just new.
But we don't know how many people want to go to Slockettville.
We don't.
No.
I mean,
We don't know.
We don't know how many people will use AWS 10 years from now, or how
That's
many
right.
use on Facebook 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a calculated guess, like gambling or anything.
But it's important to note that what they're trying to replace is not money, but computing, right? Ethereum is a computer. I mean, I actually asked Joe Lubin this when he was here. He's the CEO of Consensus, and I was like, "You're just trying to be a computer, and what are the economics of total computing? It's something less than money, and you guys aren't trying to be money." And he said, "No, we are. Ethereum is going to be money. And it's going to adjudicate the law. Like Ethereum is going to become the law, and Ethereum is going to be the money that pays the contracts." Right?
Yeah. And other thing is this: the most best use case for distributed ledger is actually asset exchange, right? You totally need trustless asset exchange. You don't want your stocks or any commodity on CME or brokerages where they can hypothecate and rehypothecate and rehypothecate.
Exactly.
So look at all the assets trading worldwide and average transaction volume generated every day. And if Ethereum replaces that, then in your case, yes, $500 per 12 seconds is undervalued.
Remember the FX
Exactly.
example from earlier.
$5 trillion market, and even if you trade the asset exchange at 2 pips, which is 0.02% of 5 trillion, that's still millions of dollars every day.
Ethereum?
So in that case, if you replace just with one asset class, then this value is undervalued.
I'd actually go further and say it's not even computing, it's actually creativity. It's how creative the human mind can actually be, and that is the full potential of it. What else out there has ever allowed us to be this creative?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the real value of it.
Yeah, it's a whole new canvas, and it is very exciting. And Vinay, in his later on, he gets into the Internet of Agreements, which I think is a really exciting, right? And if you go back and read your history, the thing that spawned the modern era is the rule of law, and like maritime law, and it allowed people to cooperate on a global basis, but you're still shuffling paper, right? And you're still like jingling coins, and we live in a global world. I mean, it is very exciting what's possible if the law itself could be automated and could facilitate cooperation.
Exactly. You could replace the law firms and all these companies. And there was an example a month ago, a company in UK imported bread and butter from some company somewhere else. It was $400 million worth of trade. Usually international finance takes about 3 months. You produce 100+ pages worth of contracts. People look and check it again, and you send it by DHL. Other side looks at it, and the banks give you a letter of credit. Other banks does the due diligence on the commodity, that you have the commodity and the quality and the quantity that you say you have. The whole thing is 3 months. And if you're missing a signature, it could take 6 months. RBS did a trade, $400 million. It took only half an hour. Everything was programmed in the scripting language of Ethereum. That's not a value. It's just one trade.
The other thing it brings in is integrity. And that isn't moral integrity, like it's a good or a bad thing. Its integrity is something which is whole and complete and doesn't break.
Trustless.
Yeah, that's the fully trustable, integrous solution. That's a big selling point. You've got agreements, you've got permission, and you've got integrity in one system. What is possible creatively?
Right.
Well, are we sure of integrity?
Well, that's what the blockchain is selling, is integrity.
Oh,
Like,
I don't know. I mean, it's the promise, isn't it? That's the promise of it.
But
It's transparent. I mean, if everybody can see,
I mean,
it's been the challenge with every other system.
This trade eliminated thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars of legal fees, all that stuff. Compliance, regulation, everything.
See, everybody can look at it. That's the point, right? So the corruptibility that we've had in all the other systems is that some stuff can happen in the back room and things can be manipulated. It's really difficult with the blockchain to do that because you've got a snapshot happening.
I'm not questioning that in terms of, I mean, it's transparent, but there could be some technical things that no one knows. Well, it's still early on. I mean, Ethereum is what, from how many? Not even 2 years? How long is it?
Yeah, it's been 2 years.
2 years. What?
Yeah, and we've already had a huge debacle with the DAO. But I mean, this is how things become anti-fragile. There are problems. People lose money. They rebuild it. They try again.
The
But
blockchain itself has been around since 2009.
That's the Bitcoin blockchain,
yeah,
though.
Bitcoin blockchain.
And Ethereum really is something different. And actually, my big knock on Ethereum, although I love all these things that we're talking about, it's an infinite attack vector. It's a Turing complete computer. If there's a bug, there's real money, like going to somebody that is a hacker instead of where it's supposed to go. And well, maybe that will increase development or make people maybe it'll all get hardened much more quickly because there is money at stake. But
this will just make the blockchain more robust if there's an attack in future.
Yeah.
It's
It becomes progressively more robust over
That's
time.
right.
With the promises, the game we're agreeing to play
Yes.
is that it is robust.
Yeah.
If we weren't agreeing to play it, then it wouldn't be so fun.
Yeah, it'll be a shark. It won't rule the land.
Yeah. It's just,
we are still years away, though, right? And this is Vlad. He was also here with Consensus. And it's my understanding that he's the main person behind sharding, which is a part of the scalability solution for Ethereum. And he's super smart. And as far as I can tell, very sincere. And I think he probably wakes up in a cold sweat at night thinking that he's going to do sharding wrong and a bunch of people are going to lose
Sharding
money.
with a D, right?
He's going to shard his pants when and so he's saying, take it easy, guys. This is experimenting. Easy does it. And it's just, it's just a point of information that I hope.
But people said that about Bitcoin in 2012.
This is also a point of information. Did you guys see this?
Dr. Malala, and today we're going to talk about cryptocurrency. So I've been looking into Ethereum and ICO projects, and some of them seem scammy, but some of them are quite interesting. For example, if you look at First Blood, but today we're going to talk about Ethereum because internet is disappearing and Ethereum is taking over. The way I see it, Ethereum is like a supercomputer. And like any computer, it will change and improve with time. For example, today, Ethereum is like an iPhone 3. And back then, an iPhone 3 was pretty good and it was ahead of its time. So, what if you today bought an iPhone 3 for the price of an iPhone 3? And you would wait, and with time, it would become an iPhone 7. And I would say it is worth investing in, right?
Okay, I'll leave it there. This is an investment advice, and I just it reminds me of this anecdote, right, from Joe Kennedy. How did Joe Kennedy make his money on the? Joe Kennedy exited the stock market in a timely fashion after a shoeshine boy gave him stock tips. He figured out what the shoeshine boys have tips. The market is too popular for its own good, and that's the point I was making by sharing that video.
The last buyer is in.
We're out of time, guys. Thank you for coming tonight. We do this every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. And next week, we're going to talk about the Bitcoin scaling problem. Right? There's some big things coming up.
Right.
And by the way, if you think Bitcoin is done or you're not interested in Bitcoin, if Bitcoin fails, it's going to be bad for everybody in crypto. So we got to pay attention to this.
About Bit 148?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Bit 148, the user-activated soft fork.
Yeah.
I bring this thing from Willie up right now because the price of all of these altcoins is probably related to the scaling problems. People are looking for hedges. A lot of money is headed into the alts as a hedge against Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin solves this problem, it could pull the rug out from ICOs that you and also other cryptocurrencies that you have invested in. So we got to watch this together. This is what we're going to talk about next week is Bitcoin scaling.
And a very good website if you want to read about Bit 148. It's called bit148guide.com.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's also another side to the whole money picture is that there's way less trust now in fiat currency than there ever was before. So that is massive amounts of money going into crypto chests because I can. And I don't trust the old system, it's a transitioning time. So it's not just the view of crypto.
You're totally right. You're totally right. Money is looking for a safe haven. This is why there are empty office buildings in New York. This is why there's record sales of fine art. This is why,
Money's looking to exit places like China where they're devaluing the currency.
Right. There are global macroeconomic forces afoot. So
Yeah, it used to be gold. Gold was a safe haven, but it's been fucking manipulated and suppressed. So, and so it is somehow the natural place to go to.
Right,
No
and
matter what's going on.
exactly. And if Bitcoin fails, and by the way, do you guys know what happens on August 1st?
Yes, the BIP 148 thing.
Yes.
Australia joining.
Tell us what it is.
August 1st is a significant date for the user-activated soft fork. All right, this is a date where Bitcoin could turn into 2 coins if a non-significant amount of people adopt this BIP 148 standard when there's a divergence between Bitcoin nodes and Bitcoin miners. We're going to talk about that next week. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Read up so that we can have a good conversation about it. It's BIP 148 is what we're going to talk about.
And just website, it's called BIP148guide.com, so you can read it.
Yeah, post that in the group and do some reading, and let's figure out together what the solution is going to look like.
The filter is like the Facebook group filter, or what is that? What we were
the Facebook group.
You didn't do the promo.
Yeah, I was just about to get to that. We get together in our Facebook group, right? It's facebook.com/ where is it? Sorry, /Bitcoins in Bali. Is that it? Yeah. Facebook.com/groups/Bitcoin in Bali. We've also got our YouTube channel and bitcoinsinbali.org. Just check those things, and don't forget to come next week. We do this in person and we also do it online. So yeah.
Chat in the Google Hangout.
The chat is a Telegram group, which is also listed in you can get there by Facebook. Yeah, it's all a big breadcrumb trail. Anyway, thanks for coming tonight, guys. We'll see you again same time, same channel.